Hey everyone, welcome back to the SLOB Sisters Podcast. I'm Steph, a former SLOB stay-at-home mom working on ways to make my life easier through daily habits and routines. And this is my sister Jill.
Hey everybody, my name is Jill. I'm Steph's sister. You may have seen me on her YouTube channel. I am a working mom. I live about 1,000 miles or 1,000 kilometers away from Steph, I should say, and we're here to share with you the art of imperfect homemaking.
Yes, we are. And so I was thinking this week, do you ever sit and look at women or, homemakers from the past, I guess they could have been men, and wonder how they seem to get it all done and how it seems like we never have enough time anymore?
Yes, and it's funny you're bringing this up as kind of the intro because this is exactly what I have been thinking about, we've gone on this week, is just how can't I get all of this done? And it seems like, women who used to have 8 children somehow could still have a homemade loaf of bread every day. So,
yeah. So you had brought this topic to me, but I was thinking about it this way, and I think you are probably spot on. So this is an idea I think might make some of us cringe or at least pull back. Do you think it's possible that we're spending way more time on our cell phones, scrolling the internet, than we need to? Definitely more than they did in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, any time except for just in the current time.
Absolutely. And when I brought up this to you last week about cell phone use and how I was struggling with what I think is an addiction to my cell phone, that's exactly how it came up. I feel like I'm so focused on my kids' screen time and limiting their screen time, I kind of forget about my own. And exactly like you said, it is cringy when we broke down the numbers. So that's why last week, exactly a week ago, I said, hey, Steph, let's put our phones to the side. Let's go old school, attach it to the wall, kind of like a landline. So we still have a phone. We can still connect to people, but we don't have it with us everywhere we go.
Yes, and I instantly agreed because I am feeling the exact same way. My phone is attached to me constantly, and I am always looking at everything and nothing at the same time. For some reason, I seem to be spending tons of time on there and really doing nothing, scrolling nothingness. Nothing productive is being added to my life. I'm not learning anything. I'm just looking at useless stuff. So to get this started, let's look in the phone usage part of our phones and tell me what amount of time you've been spending on your phone on an average week. So not this last week when we've done this experiment, but the week before and kind of the couple weeks before that. What was your average time?
Okay, so before I talk about the week before, and I haven't said this to you before, we're, here recording, I failed this last week. I failed so miserably. I almost did worse in this last week because I was restricting myself from my phone. And I know. I didn't do it. I couldn't do it. And that makes it even worse that I had this, accountability with you this week and I still couldn't put the phone down. So I actually
a diet when you decide to go on a diet and then just totally binge on all things junk.
Exactly. It was because I couldn't and wasn't supposed to be on my phone that I just kind of was like, well, I shouldn't be, but I am. So I'll just go all in and just be on my phone all the time. And so I'm sorry, but I didn't do our challenge. And the funny thing is, it was my idea to come to you last week and say, let's ditch the phones this week. And obviously it's a bigger problem than I thought because I couldn't do it. And so I broke down my numbers from this last week and of note, the week I was supposed to be off the phone, and it's awful.
Okay, give it to me.
Okay, so my average per day.
What week are you doing? You're doing
so it's
not including
it goes from last Thursday to yesterday. So February.
Okay.
Whatever. A week. It's ended yesterday. So the week before, my average was 3 hours and 10 minutes per day.
Okay.
And just as an asterisk here, so the listeners know, I use my phone 0% of the time for work. My job has nothing to do with my cell phone.
Right.
So this is literally all just useless time for me. And I mean, obviously connecting with family and friends isn't useless. I shouldn't say that. But I don't talk to my friends and family for 3 hours a day. My worst day was...
Let's be honest, the phone app isn't ranking high in your most used apps.
No, I don't even think the phone app ranked at all in my most used apps. So my worst day was last Sunday, and I spent 5 hours and 34 minutes on my phone, which is awful because that's one of the days that I spend with my kids. I've got 2 days off to spend with my kids. That's one of them. And 5 of those hours, over 5, I was on my phone. So that's over 23 hours I spent on my phone last week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm about to make you feel a lot better because I did take up the challenge. I was all in. I know my phone is a problem for me. It's one of the reasons I went on a huge kind of social media hiatus last fall was because it was just getting out of control. And so for me, last week, before you came up with the challenge, I was very similar. 3 hours, 30 minutes per day on average, and a total screen time of 24 hours, 34 minutes that week. That is more than a part-time job.
Yeah, that's a whole day there. And you know what? We're not alone.
It's crazy.
We're not alone, Steph, because I looked up the average adult in the US spends 3 hours and 43 minutes on their phone. So we're right there with them. We're average.
Well, I'm below average, so I'm giving myself a pat on the back for that, but not by much. But and then it breaks it down by apps, and I've got like 6 hours on Instagram. Doing what? I don't know. Nothing, probably. I mean, I do use my phone for work. I use it for my YouTube channel. I use it to promote. But I certainly don't need 6 hours of time to get that done. But I want to tell you, okay, so I took up the challenge when you gave it to me. And what I did was what you said was let's plug them in, treat them like a landline. And so I could only use my phone if I was at the counter where I plugged my phone in. I kind of chose a spot that would have been where the phone was. And actually, this was where their phone was. And I did great. I did a lot better. I was only on my phone 2 hours, so an hour and a half less a day. And my most used apps were the internet, like looking at news. I think I looked at the Olympics a lot. I would sit and kind of watch Olympics or set it up. So there was that. But also because I've been learning to play piano this week, I did use my piano app was the second most used at 2 hours and 32 minutes because I've been practicing piano. So
that's pretty good.
I'm going to even so I'm going to take those 2 hours off because that's not really scrolling. I'm learning my piano, which I'm very excited for. But wow, what a difference. 40% less time than the week before just by moving my phone to a location and not having it with me constantly. And I even left it at home when I went out to get groceries, to pick up my kids, to drop them off. Because I always end up scrolling while I'm waiting for things. But no, I just left it at home. And guess what? The world didn't end.
Yeah, shockingly, right? So how many hours did you have last week in total?
18 hours.
Okay. Which, yes, great. Good for you. Still pretty bad.
Oh, no, sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing.
Oh.
No. I was looking at the wrong week. 9 hours, 43 minutes.
9 hours for the week. Okay. Which, honestly, if I were to look at
versus
my phone...
24.
If I were to look at my phone and see 9 hours, I'd still be like, wow, that's a lot of time. But, I mean, what an improvement, right? And like you said, the world didn't end. And we don't need to be connected all the time. And I don't need to be reached at all times. And you probably just had your phone on so that if it rang, you'd be able to answer it. So if someone really needed to get a hold of you, you would answer your phone.
Yeah. That was a crazy, easy experiment to do. I mean, I still had access to my phone, obviously. That was great. But I was thinking so where am I racking up these hours? So where are you using your phone or where are you taking it? I know for me, I used to have a really big problem of having my phone in bed and not going to sleep at night because I'm scrolling, or even, as terrible as this sounds, waking up in the night and going on my phone. First thing in the morning, going on my phone. So in bed was a big one for me.
Yeah, I have my phone purposely for 2 reasons across the room from me when I sleep, because for one, I will snooze my phone until I'm late for work in the morning every day. But this way it forces me to get out of bed to turn my alarm off. And also because I do the same thing. I'll get into bed and I'll have my phone with me if it's connected there. And, an hour goes by pretty fast when you're perusing the internet. And so I get more sleep by keeping my phone across the room. So the bed isn't a big one, but I do a lot of phone use at the gym. I do a lot at work, between patients and at lunchtime. And it's really sad when we're in the lunchroom. And I consider myself to be one of the more chatty people in the lunchroom, but nobody talks to each other anymore. We all know each other, and yet we all just sit on our phones at lunchtime.
Yeah.
And then when my kids are watching TV and I'm sitting with them, or if they're doing anything, I'm on my phone. You know, it's all those little bits of time that just add up. You know, I'm never sitting there for an hour on my phone, but a minute here, 15 minutes there, 3 minutes there, and it all adds up. And one statistic, I don't know if you, or one thing that you can find on your phone is how many times you pick up your phone. And on the day that I had my highest phone use was also the day I had the most notifications and the most phone pickups, with over 100 phone pickups that day. So I'm checking my phone over 100 times. And that means that's 100 times that I'm leaving the real world and tapping into whatever's on my phone. So it's crazy.
So safe to say you have an addiction.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's scary. You know, I know a lot of people have rules in their houses. So at our house, we are not allowed to use phones at the table. And this was my husband's rule that he implemented. And it's really interesting. You know, my kids don't have phones, but just between the two of us, we're not allowed to have phones at the table. And that was implemented a long time ago, and we've stuck to it. But when I go to someone's house now and someone has their phone on the table while everyone's eating dinner, it's almost jarring and unsettling to me. Like, it's there. It's almost like there's another person there. You're waiting. Are they going to talk, you know, ring or send a notification? It's really unsettling. And I'm so glad that's a rule we set. Another one is, you know, double screening, as my husband likes to call it. And we'll address why he's kind of got a good grip on this in a minute. But double screening, so he'll be watching TV at night or we'll be watching TV. And sure enough, if I get even an inkling of a feeling, pick up my phone and there I'm scrolling. And I'm not even watching the movie anymore. And I'm doing both. It's awful.
Yeah, I constantly have the TV on in the evenings watching a show, and I have no idea what's going on because I'm just on my phone as well. And that's a funny term, double screening. Is that like an actual term or something you guys made up?
No, that's what he calls it, double screening. Or like, even if we have like and someone's watching something on iPad or the kids are playing a game, he calls it triple screening. What are we doing? Triple screening here. So I wanted to bring him up because my husband is definitely an anomaly in today's society. He does not have a smartphone. In fact, he has a flip phone.
That's like new. We need to add that it's a new phone.
Oh, this is a brand new phone that he's purchased in the last, well, he purchased it at Christmas. Prior to that, he had an iPhone 3, which had basically gone defunct about 5 years ago and wouldn't send photos, wouldn't go on the internet. You could just call and text. So he's recently upgraded, because that one finally did die, to a flip phone, a T9 texting nightmare of a flip phone. But I will give him this. He is never distracted by his phone. He is constantly in the moment. He's getting way more done than I am. And it's just not part of his world to be 100% connected all the time.
Yeah, and our dad's kind of like that as well. And it's funny because we give him a hard time because he's not always available when we call him. And we're so used to people always being available that when we call him and he doesn't answer, we're frustrated. When really, like 15 years ago, it was very normal to call somebody and leave a message and hear back from them the next day. Now, not so normal. So we get angry at him that we can't reach him exactly when we want. And that's unfortunate because he deserves the freedom of not always being reached. And
definitely. No, I was laughing with some girlfriends the other day and showing them, you know, they were talking about how much they text with their husband. I said, here's the last text I got. And it was from the beginning of December. And it's middle of February now. Like 2.5 months have gone by without us sending a text. We phone each other if we have to talk. But it's just, it's a really nice relationship, I think, to kind of leave the technology out of it. And we grew up in the 90s, so we didn't have this, and it's definitely a throwback to that feeling. And it's nice just to be able to pick up the phone and call him when I need something, not text and then have to wait for a response, and then he has to wait. And I think it definitely helps stay off of it. So yeah, I wanted to bring up him and his stuff because he's the one who's really laying down the law at our house. But obviously, by my usage, you can see that I'm getting away and just going on it anyways. So do you think this is what is eating up people's time, that they're not getting stuff done? Like, are we using our phones and it's kind of tricking us into thinking we're doing something, but we're doing this instead of being productive? Do you think this is really the crutch? Or do you think if there weren't phones, we'd be doing something else?
I think it's a bit of both. So one thing I wanted to bring up was a question that you put on your Facebook page. And this was about a year ago, but for some reason it kind of stuck with me. You put on a question on your Facebook: what would you do if you had an extra hour in your day? And you had an overwhelming response from people saying, I would start out a workout routine. I would go for a walk with my husband every day. I would spend quality time with my kids. I would work on my self-care. I would clean my house, all of those things. And I think in reality, and I'm guilty of this too, if I had an extra hour, sure, I'd love to, do something ultra productive, like learn an instrument or something. But I would probably just spend more time on my phone or in front of the TV. Because if you look at how much I'm already doing that, clearly I have that time. And yeah, it's here and there. I have some time to be being more productive around my house. And I think if we put our devices away, we could be doing some more productive things. Because one thing I looked at, because I was thinking, well, what would I do if I got off my phone? Maybe I could, it'd be fun to learn a language. That's kind of one thing that, everyone kind of wants to do, but never quite does. And I looked it up, and on average, it takes somebody 600 hours to become fluent in Spanish, which apparently is one of the easier languages to learn. For me,
Sure.
If, let's just say I took my phone time and put that time towards learning Spanish, I would be fluent in Spanish by this summer.
Oh my goodness. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So,
okay.
I don't know.
Go for it.
As a mom who says I constantly rush around, I never have enough time in the day, I don't see my kids enough, I don't do this, I feel a bit guilty now because
Sure.
I have a bit more time than I thought I did. And I don't know about you, but have your kids ever called you out on your phone use? Because my daughter does all the time. I'm on my phone and she's trying to show me something. And it was just like last week. And I think this is actually one of the things that kind of, made me bring this up to you is she looked at me and she said, Mom, listen to me. And I felt terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a huge one, especially when we have kids, is forgetting to be in the moment with them, living in our lives, right? And the phones are such an easy escape. And I get it. Being a mom is hard and it's tiring and you're exhausted, and it's such an easy brain escape, right? To get away on your phone. But man, I don't think it's healthy at all. Do you remember a few years ago when I was addicted to Candy Crush?
Yes, of course I do.
Completely addicted to Candy Crush.
And you spent you spent a few bucks on that app if I don't if I remember correctly.
No, yes, that was a different app, like Farmville or something. That I did spend. I think I spent like $600 on it.
Oh man,
I know, it's awful. Anyways, so I was completely addicted to phone games. Any game that went on my phone, I was addicted to. And so I finally realized. I think it was after I added up the amount of money I had spent. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but you know what? That's real life. So it happened. But I added up and I just said, this has to stop. And you remember I put my phone off. We went camping for the week. I turned my phone off and said, no one call me. I'm not answering. If you need to get a hold of me, phone my husband. And that was it. I took phone games off. I never installed them again. And I replaced my phone game time with reading. And so that was 3 or 4 years ago. And you know how much I read now. And that's what's taken the place. And wow, what a way more fulfilling hobby than breaking jewels on Candy Crush, right?
Absolutely.
I've read like probably 100 books since that. I read around 40 to 50 books a year. And before that, it was like, 30 hours a week on Candy Crush. Terrible.
Yeah.
But so that's one thing you can do is, replace. So you could say, instead of sitting here on my phone, I'm going to read a book. It's still relaxing. You're still not having to get up and do anything. It doesn't take a lot of energy, but at least you're filling your mind with something slightly more wholesome. I mean, it depends on what kind of books you're reading, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean,
then the nothingness.
Even our dad, like kind of going back to him, who he doesn't normally have his phone on him, he always has a book on him. So if he's in the waiting room or if he's on the bus or if he's doing something in the car waiting to, you know, pick somebody up, he's reading instead. And I mean, I don't think it's realistic for us these days to say no phones at all. I don't think I could ever get there. But using these kind of, you know, swaps, like you were saying, and I was kind of, while I was doing my research a little bit on this, I looked up some ideas on how to help with this addiction. I mean, yeah, the book is a good one because you can kind of, you know, it's a better way to spend that time, I think.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Okay, so that's a good thing you brought up. Let's just assuming most of the people listening here are in somewhat of the same boat as us. You know, it's a chronic problem for everyone these days. Let's talk about some of the tricks for limiting phone use. And we'll start with the one that you brought up, which is keeping it in one spot and having to use it in one spot. And it's better if you make that an inconvenient place. You know, if it's on the couch, that's maybe not going to work so well. So I kept mine on my counter in the kitchen. And so I had to stand there at the counter if I wanted to use it.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And I think it obviously depends on what people do for work. Some people have to kind of be able to be reached at sometimes, but I think for the most part, we could be leaving our phones behind more than we do. So that's a good one. Another one that I saw, which really I think is an easy and good idea, is turning off your phone's notifications. Because that will drop your pickups per day, which in turn will drop your time spent on your phone. So I'm not talking about turning off your ringer, because obviously if someone needs to get a hold of you, they can call you. But your message notifications, your Facebook notifications, your Instagram notifications, our phones, you know, they're designed to make us become addicted to them. And so the people behind phones know us well. And so they're sending these notifications so we can get back on the phone, get more advertisement in our heads, and buy more things.
Yeah. I notice, I don't know about you, but I'll pick up my phone to look at a message. And once it's in my hand, that's it. The rabbit hole is open and I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook and I'm doing this and I'm doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Once you've picked it up, game over. But not picking it up is could be the starting point for, you know, a lot less time. One that I read was actually just physically changing your phone's appearance. So deleting apps that you're using all the time, organizing the home screen to make it harder to get onto some of those social media apps or apps where you're wasting time, as well as making your phone black and white.
I saw that too, and I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
But I saw that exact thing, and I thought, because apparently it's less appealing for us.
Yeah, it's less appealing, it's less addicting, it's not as fun, it's not as exciting to your brain. So just going in and, you know, deleting those apps, making it hard to get into those ones that you're using all the time, or deleting them altogether. I can still go on Facebook on my computer. It's just not as fun as scrolling everywhere I am.
Absolutely. One thing I also looked at is setting times for your devices. And setting times for no devices. So I like what you said about no devices at the dinner table. So no screens at the dinner table. That's set for your family, and no one can bring their phones there. And I think it's important to kind of have those times, especially, you know, I mean, you don't have this problem with your husband, but I sure do. In the evenings, we are both in separate worlds, and we are not connected at all to each other, because we are both sitting on the couch 3 feet from each other doing our own things on our phone. So I think for your relationship with your children, with your, you know, with your spouse, with, you know, your coworkers, setting some boundaries for when you use them and when you don't.
Have you ever considered doing a complete phone-free day? Like some people will do Sundays, phone-free day.
Oh, Steph, I couldn't even put it in one spot. Let's take some baby steps here. I mean,
well, I would like to consider.
I would like to think I could. I mean, we go camping and oftentimes we're out of service, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, I want to think of a million excuses for why I couldn't do that, but they're really, I should be able to.
Yeah. Another trick that I have used in the past, and this is kind of just a physical, again, a mental trip for you, is putting an elastic band around your phone where the swipe right to unlock the phone is. Oh. Just that tiny little barrier to your thumb can sometimes be that reminder, like, do I need to go on here? You have to physically move the band to open the phone. It's just a funny little trick to trick your brain into not opening it up. Again, it seems like really the key here is to not open it in the first place, because once you're in there, you're in too deep.
It's game over once you're in there. And it's funny because one of the things that there's a lot of apps for this is, you know, it sends you a reminder like you have used over the amount of time that you want to. I mean, they just don't work. I've tried them. I know my friends have tried them, and you mindlessly just turn that alarm off when it comes on and just continue what you're doing. It almost, you know, after a while, you don't even think about it. So I personally don't think those work, but for some people, maybe they'd be a good reminder.
Yeah. Okay. So we've gone into what we're doing, probably wrong, and what we can do. So what are you going to do from here? Now you've got this Spanish you can learn. We know what we're doing. How are you going to stop? Because it sounds like this is something you really want to stop for yourself. So what are we going to do here?
Yeah, I think for me, the steps I'm going to take is turning off most of my phone's notifications, because clearly the pickups per day is a problem for me.
Yeah.
I'm also going to put my phone in my bedroom during the evening times that I'm spending with my kids for that couple hours. I mean, we don't get a lot of times. I go to work all day. Those times I spend with my kids are precious, and I want to be there 100%. And so, you know what? If I need to make a call, I can do that, or if I get a call, but otherwise I want to be there. I want to be present. So those are the 2 steps I'm going to take. I want to start small, because for me, I just, I can't jump all in right now, but I hope that that will make a difference. And I'll be curious to see in a couple of weeks how my time goes down.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that checking your time spent on your phone daily might make a difference? Similar to, if you were, trying to lose weight, you step on the scale and you can kind of watch your progress.
I don't.
You don't think that would make a difference?
I don't, because it's not actually stopping me from picking it up. Whereas the actual, not getting the notification and having to walk all the way to my room will stop me from actually picking it up. Whereas me looking at the time on my phone is just another minute spent on my phone. I mean, yeah, I need that actual, disconnect between using it and stuff. So
yeah, maybe we should start a family group chat and you have to share it in a screenshot.
Absolutely. And our mom has a problem with phone use.
Well, our mom has a problem. Everyone has a problem. This is probably one of the biggest crises facing people these days. Yeah. And I know it's a huge contributor to mental health problems and all kinds of things. I mean, we don't even have to get into the topic of children and phones and social media and screens.
And and how social media affects us. But did you know, this is just like a funny thing that I found, in some countries, they're starting to put in traffic signals, stop for pedestrians on the sidewalk instead of in front of them, because everyone's heads are down looking at their phones. So they have flashing lights on the ground versus up in the air, because no one's looking up when they walk anymore and they're just getting hit by cars.
Yeah. Oh my. So. I didn't realize that, but that makes sense. Okay, so your goal is to make a few different changes. I'm going to make my goal to keep my phone on the counter. That's actually been incredible change for us. And then I too am going to delete notifications. I installed TikTok about 2 months ago and never deactivated the notifications, and it's constantly beeping at me. I'm like, what do you want, TikTok?
TikTok is a rabbit hole waiting to happen. So good for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I joined TikTok and I thought, oh, this is fun. And you know what? I quickly realized this is not fun. This is a complete waste of my time. It's just, there's definitely some funny stuff and some great content on there, but you have to go through a lot of videos to get to it. So I think I'm probably done with that one for now. And I know it's the way of the future, but that's okay. I'll stay in the past.
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like we've definitely confessed to some of our huge phone usage sins. It's okay. The most important thing is to remember we're trying our best, but realizing where we can probably make some improvements. I'm interested to see if you get more done productively if you make those small changes to your phone. So make sure to keep me updated.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about it in a future podcast. I think this is one we could definitely revisit.
Yeah, I'm proud of you for actually following through with the challenge I came up with as I didn't. So good for you, because it sounds like you made big improvements. So I'm inspired. I'm
definitely outward accountability motivated, right? This is why I started my YouTube channel, because if I knew I was going to have to tell someone about it, I'd keep going, right? So you told me to do this and I was like, we're going to talk about it on the podcast. I can't not do it now. I'm going to have to confess. So, really, I do it out of fear of having to share that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Great topic. I love that you brought that up. I think it's so important for people to just assess and think about it and try and make a few changes to add a little bit more time or add that hour into your life.
Absolutely. And see where we can, make some improvements in our day.
Definitely. Okay, so to end the podcast, we decided we're going to share one of our funny stories, and this week it is my turn. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So this is a funny story that involved both of us. And a few years ago, which actually was about 10 years ago now, we went on a trip to Central America, Costa Rica and Panama. Did we go anywhere else? Anyways, we were in Panama, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but we went out for the day on this boat, and we went to this really cool secluded beach that you could only get to by boat. And it was still pretty busy. A lot of people were there. And we were on a big group tour, and most of the people on the tour were Australian or from a country where they have the ocean, I guess you could say. Do you know where I'm going with this?
No, I don't, but I'm excited.
Okay. So we were with all these people from Australia, and we went to this beautiful beach. It was just gorgeous. Turquoise water, these nice rolling waves, gorgeous beach. So we all laid out in the sand. I think we had some lunch, and then we said, okay, let's go for a swim. Well, we get in the water, And they're all laughing and splashing. And immediately, you and I get tossed around like drowning kittens. We're choking on water. I think I lost my bathing suit bottom at one point. I've got sand all in my hair. And we're just like a hot mess.
Yeah,
and
we had no idea what we were doing in the ocean.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. And you grab my hand, and I swear I thought I was drowning. And we're just like, bubbles and coughing and choking. We kind of crawl out of the beach. And these Australians kind of look at us, and we're just covered in sand, totally soaking wet. And they look at us and they're, what are you doing?
There was like, they had strategies on how to like deal with the waves, where we were just getting like completely beaten down. Yeah.
Pummeled. And they're just like, what are you doing? They're just frolicking and having a good time. Meanwhile, we're like half drowning. And Jill looks at them and just shouts, we are not ocean people.
Clearly.
We come from the Rocky Mountains. Like, I can't even do anything more than a wave pool wave. And it was just horrifying. And I think the worst part is we assumed the waves were dangerous for everyone. We were so scared. We were like gripping onto each other for dear life and then looking over at these Australians and they're just like, la-di-da, what a good day. Gosh. I didn't realize I wasn't a very strong swimmer until that moment.
They probably all thought we couldn't swim, but really, like, it's like, no, we can swim.
It was bad.
Only in a 6-lane pool here.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. It was
funny.
pretty funny.
I forgot about that.
My favorite was just you screaming, we're not ocean people.
Yeah, well, it's true. Now we both live in the prairies, so there we go.
Yeah, no, and I still only go into my waist in the ocean. That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, great podcast, great topic suggestion. Thank you so much, Jill. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Thanks for listening. And if you want to hear more, make sure you subscribe to our podcast, follow and like it. Let us know in the comments if you're going to make a change to your phone habits. We will talk to you very soon. Okay, bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.